Question 1. What is the minimum uniform depth of a trench that triggers the requirement for a California OSHA permit, protective system, or shoring plan by a registered professional engineer? A. 3 feet. B. 4 feet. C. 5 feet. D. 6 feet. Answer: C. 5 feet. California OSHA, Cal/OSHA, regulations are strict regarding trenching and excavation safety, and a trench reaching 5 feet or more in depth is considered a significant hazard that requires immediate protective measures. At this depth, the risk of soil collapse, or cave-ins, becomes substantial, necessitating the use of shoring, sloping, or shielding to protect workers. Contractors must prioritize worker safety by implementing a protective system or having a trenching plan designed by a registered professional engineer, often a civil engineer, to prevent catastrophic incidents. Always remember that 5 feet is the critical threshold for enhanced safety requirements in trenches. Question 2. According to the California Plumbing Code, CPC, what is the minimum required pressure for a water supply system pressure test on a new residential installation? A. 50 psi for 15 minutes. B. 60 psi for 30 minutes. C. 80 psi for 15 minutes. D. 100 psi for 15 minutes. Answer: D. 100 psi for 15 minutes. The California Plumbing Code mandates a specific pressure test to ensure the integrity of newly installed water supply piping before it's put into service. A minimum pressure of 100 psi, pounds per square inch, must be maintained for at least 15 minutes, with no visible leaks or pressure drop, to confirm that all joints and fittings are sound and leak-free. This pressure is significantly higher than typical operating pressures to verify the system's ability to withstand future stresses. Always verify the system holds pressure at 100 psi to avoid costly post-installation repairs. Question 3. Under California law, what is the current amount required for a contractor's license bond for an active contractor's license? A. $15,000. B. $20,000. C. $25,000. D. $50,000. Answer: C. $25,000. The California Contractors State License Board, CSLB, requires all active licensed contractors to maintain a contractor's bond to protect consumers and ensure financial responsibility. This bond, currently set at $25,000, provides a limited amount of financial recourse for consumers who suffer damages due to a contractor's negligence or violation of contract. Maintaining an active bond is a continuous requirement for an active license and is a critical aspect of consumer protection within the contracting industry. Always ensure your bond is active and sufficient to keep your license in good standing. Question 4. What is the minimum nominal pipe size allowed for a water service pipe supplying a single-family dwelling unit under normal conditions, according to the California Plumbing Code? A. 3/4 inch. B. 1 inch. C. 1¼ inches. D. 1½ inches. Answer: A. 3/4 inch. The California Plumbing Code specifies minimum pipe sizes to ensure adequate water flow and pressure to plumbing fixtures in residential dwellings. For a typical single-family home, a 3/4 inch nominal pipe size is the minimum allowed for the main water service line connecting the public water supply to the dwelling's internal distribution system. While larger sizes may be required for homes with many fixtures or high demand, 3/4 inch is the baseline for basic service. Remember that 3/4 inch is the standard minimum for residential water service. Question 5. In a drainage system, what is the maximum permissible developed length for a 1½ inch fixture drain serving a single lavatory, before connecting to a vented stack or branch? A. 2 feet 6 inches. B. 3 feet 6 inches. C. 5 feet 0 inches. D. 6 feet 0 inches. Answer: B. 3 feet 6 inches. The developed length of a fixture drain, which is the actual measurement of the pipe from the trapware to its vent connection, is crucial for proper drainage and preventing trap siphonage. For a 1.5-inch fixture drain serving a single lavatory, the California Plumbing Code limits this length to 3 feet 6 inches to ensure that the trap seal is not compromised by insufficient venting or excessive flow. Exceeding this length could lead to the trap losing its water seal, allowing sewer gases to enter the building. Keep fixture drains within their prescribed lengths to maintain effective trap seals. Question 6. When brazing copper tubing for a medical gas system, what type of purging gas is explicitly required by NFPA 99, Healthcare Facilities Code, to prevent internal oxidation? A. Nitrogen. B. Argon. C. Carbon dioxide. D. Oxygen. Answer: A. Nitrogen. Brazing medical gas piping requires meticulous attention to detail and specific procedures to ensure system purity and safety. NFPA 99, the standard governing medical gas systems, mandates the use of oil-free, dry nitrogen to purge the interior of the tubing during the brazing process. This nitrogen purge displaces oxygen, preventing the formation of copper oxides, black scale, on the inside of the pipe, which could otherwise contaminate the medical gas stream and potentially harm patients. Always use nitrogen for purging during medical gas brazing to maintain system purity. Question 7. What is the primary function of a thermal expansion tank when installed on a closed-loop domestic hot water system with a check valve or pressure-reducing valve on the cold water inlet? A. To increase water pressure for better flow. B. To prevent the water heater from overheating. C. To absorb the volumetric expansion of heated water. D. To filter sediment from the incoming cold water. Answer: C. To absorb the volumetric expansion of heated water. When water is heated, it expands in volume. In a closed domestic hot water system, typically found when a check valve or pressure-reducing valve is installed on the cold water inlet, this expansion has nowhere to go, leading to excessive pressure buildup. A thermal expansion tank is installed to safely absorb this expanded water volume, preventing dangerously high pressures that could damage the water heater, fixtures, or piping and trigger the TNP relief valve. Think of it as a safety bladder that flexes to accommodate the water's natural expansion. Question 8. Under what circumstance is a licensed plumbing contractor generally not required to have workers' compensation insurance, according to California law? A. When the contractor has no employees. B. When the contractor only hires subcontractors. C. When the contractor is a sole proprietor working alone. D. When the contractor's employees are covered by their own health insurance. Answer: C. When the contractor is a sole proprietor working alone. In California, if a licensed contractor is a sole proprietor and has no employees, they are typically exempt from the requirement to carry workers' compensation insurance. However, as soon as a sole proprietor hires even one employee, workers' compensation insurance becomes mandatory to cover potential injuries or illnesses sustained on the job. The CSLB will flag a contractor's license as inactive if they are required to have the insurance and do not. Remember this exception, but always prioritize proper coverage if you ever hire help. Question 9. What is the minimum setback distance required by the California Plumbing Code for graywater discharge points from a property line? A. 2 feet. B. 5 feet. C. 10 feet. D. 20 feet. Answer: B. 5 feet. The California Plumbing Code regulates graywater systems to ensure public health and environmental protection. For discharge points, such as those from a subsurface irrigation field, a minimum setback of 5 feet is required from any property line. This setback helps prevent graywater from migrating onto adjacent properties and reduces the potential for public exposure or nuisance. Adhering to these setback requirements is crucial for compliant and safe graywater system installation. Question 10. When performing a water supply system pressure test with air, what is the maximum allowable pressure for testing plastic piping, example PX, CPVC, in a building, according to the California Plumbing Code? A. 50 psi. B. 80 psi. C. 100 psi. D. The code does not allow air testing for plastic piping. Answer: A. 50 psi. While hydrostatic, water, testing is preferred for water supply systems, the California Plumbing Code does permit air testing under certain conditions, especially when water is not available or practical. However, for plastic piping systems like PX or CPVC, the maximum allowable air test pressure is limited to 50 psi. Testing plastic pipe with higher air pressure can be extremely dangerous due to the potential for explosive rupture if a failure occurs. Always prioritize safety and adhere to the 50 psi limit for plastic piping air tests. Question 11. What is the maximum horizontal spacing for supports for 1.5 inch ABS, acrylonitrile butadiene styrene, plastic drainage piping? A. 2 feet 6 inches. B. 3 feet 0 inches. C. 4 feet 0 inches. D. 5 feet 0 inches. Answer: C. 4 feet 0 inches. Proper support spacing is critical for all piping systems, especially plastic drainage pipes, to prevent sagging, maintain proper slope, and ensure system longevity. For 1.5 inch ABS piping, the California Plumbing Code specifies a maximum horizontal support spacing of 4 feet. This ensures that the pipe maintains its integrity and doesn't deform under its own weight or the weight of the conveyed waste. Always ensure adequate and correctly spaced supports for all plastic drainage piping installations. Question 12. According to the California Plumbing Code, what is the minimum distance required between a gas meter outlet and an ignition source, such as a window that can be opened, or an appliance vent? A. 1 foot. B. 3 feet. C. 5 feet. D. 10 feet. Answer: B. 3 feet. Safety is paramount when installing gas piping and meters, and specific clearances from potential ignition sources are mandated to prevent gas accumulation and explosion hazards. The California Plumbing Code requires a minimum clearance of 3 feet between any gas meter outlet and an ignition source, which includes operable windows, appliance vents, or any other opening or device that could ignite escaped gas. This 3-foot rule is a critical safety measure to protect property and life. Question 13. Which of the following backflow prevention devices is typically required for a severe, high, hazard cross-connection, such as a chemical mixing tank directly connected to the potable water supply? A. Double check valve assembly, DCVA. B. Pressure vacuum breaker, PVB. C. Atmospheric vacuum breaker, AVB. D. Reduced pressure principle, RP, backflow assembly. Answer: D. Reduced pressure principle, RP, backflow assembly. Backflow prevention is crucial for protecting the public potable water supply from contamination. For high-hazard cross-connections, where there's a risk of toxic substances entering the drinking water, the California Plumbing Code and health regulations mandate the use of the most reliable device, the Reduced Pressure Principle, RP, backflow assembly. This device incorporates 2 independently operating check valves, an automatically operating pressure differential relief valve located between the check valves, and 2 shut-off valves, providing the highest level of protection against both backpressure and backsiphonage. The RP assembly is the gold standard for severe hazard applications. Question 14. What is the recommended minimum slope for a 4-inch horizontal drain pipe serving a water closet in a residential application? A. 1/16 inch per foot. B. 1/8 inch per foot. C. 1/4 inch per foot. D. 1/2 inch per foot. Answer: C. 1/4 inch per foot. Proper slope is essential for gravity drainage systems to ensure efficient waste removal and prevent clogs by allowing solids to be carried along with liquids. For most horizontal drainage piping up to 4 inches in diameter, including a 4-inch drain serving a water closet, the California Plumbing Code specifies a minimum slope of 1/4 inch per foot. This slope provides sufficient velocity for waste flow without causing issues like premature liquid separation or solids accumulation. Always ensure your horizontal drains have at least a 1/4 inch per foot slope for optimal performance. Question 15. When a licensed contractor enters into a home improvement contract over a certain dollar amount, what is the required down payment limit under California Contractors state license law? A. 10% of the contract price or $1,000, whichever is less. B. 10% of the contract price or $1,000, whichever is greater. C. 10% of the contract price or $500, whichever is less. D. 15% of the contract price or $1,500, whichever is less. Answer: A. 10% of the contract price or $1,000, whichever is less. California Contractors state license law includes specific protections for homeowners entering into home improvement contracts. For contracts exceeding a certain value, the contractor is legally limited in the amount of down payment they can collect upfront. The maximum allowable down payment is 10% of the total contract price or $1,000, whichever amount is less. This rule aims to protect homeowners from excessive upfront payments and potential abandonment of the project. Always adhere to the 10% or $1,000 limit for home improvement contract down payments. Question 16. What type of flame is generally preferred when brazing copper tubing to minimize oxidation and ensure a strong, clean joint? A. Oxidizing flame. B. Carboizing flame. C. Neutral or slightly oxidizing flame. D. Neutral or slightly carboizing flame. Answer: D. Neutral or slightly carboizing flame. When brazing copper tubing, the type of flame used significantly impacts the quality and integrity of the joint. A neutral flame, where oxygen and acetylene are balanced, or a slightly carboizing flame, slightly more acetylene, often indicated by a feather-like tip, is generally preferred. This flame type helps to minimize oxidation of the copper and the brazing filler metal, allowing for better flow and adhesion of the filler metal, resulting in a stronger, leak-free joint. Avoid an oxidizing flame, as it can cause excessive scale and poor braze penetration. Question 17. What is the primary purpose of a notice of completion in a construction project, as defined by California Mechanics lien law? A. To notify the homeowner that the project is finished. B. To establish the start date for filing mechanics liens. C. To shorten the period in which mechanics liens can be filed. D. To trigger the final payment release from the lender. Answer: C. To shorten the period in which mechanics liens can be filed. Under California Mechanics lien law, notice of completion is a crucial document that, when properly recorded, significantly shortens the time frame for contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers to file mechanics liens. If a notice of completion is recorded, the lien period for prime contractors is reduced to 60 days, and for all others, subcontractors, suppliers, it's reduced to 30 days from the date of recording. This protects property owners by creating a definite end to the lien filing period. Always consider recording a notice of completion upon project completion to protect your client and yourself. Question 18. What is the maximum safe working height for an extension ladder that is set up correctly with the base approximately 1/4 of the ladder's working length away from the wall? A. The highest rung. B. The 4th rung from the top. C. The 3rd rung from the top. D. The 2nd rung from the top. Answer: B. The 4th rung from the top. Ladder safety is paramount on any job site to prevent falls. When using an extension ladder, OSHA guidelines specify that a worker should never stand higher than the 4th rung from the top. This rule ensures that there are enough rungs above the worker to provide a secure handhold and stability, reducing the risk of overreaching or losing balance. Always remember the 3 points of contact rule and the 4th rung from the top limit for ladder safety. Question 19. According to the California Plumbing Code, what is the minimum clear floor space required directly in front of a water closet, measured from the fixture's front rim? A. 18 inches. B. 21 inches. C. 24 inches. D. 30 inches. Answer: C. 24 inches. The California Plumbing Code specifies minimum clearances around plumbing fixtures to ensure accessibility, comfort, and maintenance. For a water closet, toilet, a minimum clear floor space of 24 inches is required directly in front of the fixture, measured from its outermost projection. This space allows for comfortable use and necessary access for cleaning or repairs. Always ensure adequate clearance around fixtures during rough-in to avoid costly modifications later. Question 20. When advertising, what essential piece of information is a licensed contractor legally required to include in all forms of advertisement, according to California law? A. The contractor's business address. B. The contractor's license number. C. The contractor's bond number. D. The contractor's business phone number. Answer: B. The contractor's license number. California Contractor's state license law mandates transparency in contractor advertising to protect consumers and allow them to verify a contractor's legitimacy. Every advertisement, whether it's on a vehicle, business card, website, or flyer, must clearly display the contractor's license number. This allows potential clients to easily check the contractor's license status and history with the CSLB. Always include your license number prominently in all advertising to comply with the law. Question 21. What is the minimum required amount of pressure to be maintained during a final air or water test of a newly installed DWV, drainage, waste, and vent system, as per the California Plumbing Code? A. A 5-foot head of water or 5 psi air pressure. B. A 10-foot head of water or 10 psi air pressure. C. A 15-foot head of water or 15 psi air pressure. D. A 20-foot head of water or 20 psi air pressure. Answer: A. A 5-foot head of water or 5 psi air pressure. Testing the DWV system is a critical step to ensure all joints are watertight and the system functions correctly before it's covered. The California Plumbing Code requires a final test of the DWV system with either a 5-foot head of water, meaning the water level is 5 feet above the highest fitting or connection in the section being tested, or 5 psi, pounds per square inch, of air pressure. This pressure must be maintained for at least 15 minutes without any loss to confirm system integrity. Remember, 5 feet of water or 5 psi air for DWV testing. Question 22. What is the primary hazard associated with entering a trench or excavation that is deeper than 4 feet without proper shoring or protective systems? A. Exposure to hazardous gases. B. Lack of adequate lighting. C. Cave-in and engulfment by soil. D. Risk of falling objects from above. Answer: C. Cave-in and engulfment by soil. The most significant and immediate danger in an unprotected trench or excavation deeper than 4 feet is a cave-in. Soil can unexpectedly collapse, rapidly burying workers, leading to severe injuries or fatalities by engulfment. OSHA standards are specifically designed to mitigate this risk through mandatory protective systems like shoring, sloping, or shielding. Always assess trench stability and ensure proper protective measures are in place before entering any excavation. Question 23. What is the minimum trap seal depth required for a standard plumbing fixture trap, such as a P-trap, according to the California Plumbing Code? A. 1 inch. B. 2 inches. C. 3 inches. D. 4 inches. Answer: B. 2 inches. The trap seal is a critical component of every plumbing fixture, forming a water barrier that prevents sewer gases from entering occupied spaces. The California Plumbing Code mandates a minimum trap seal depth of 2 inches for standard fixture traps to ensure this barrier is robust enough to resist evaporation, siphonage, and backpressure under normal conditions. This ensures public health and safety by containing noxious gases within the drainage system. Always ensure your trap seals are at least 2 inches deep for effective odor control. Question 24. Which of the following is considered a high-hazard cross-connection that typically requires the highest level of backflow protection? A. A garden hose connection to a silcock. B. A domestic water line serving an atmospheric boiler. C. A potable water supply to a fire sprinkler system with antifreeze. D. A commercial dishwasher connection with an air gap. Answer: C. A potable water supply to a fire sprinkler system with antifreeze. A high-hazard cross-connection is one that, if backflow occurs, could introduce a substance that is toxic or could cause illness or death into the potable water supply. A fire sprinkler system containing antifreeze, directly connected to the potable water supply, represents a severe high-hazard risk because the antifreeze solution is highly toxic. This type of connection typically requires a reduced pressure principle, RP, backflow assembly, which offers the highest degree of protection against both backpressure and back-siphonage contamination. Understanding and properly addressing high-hazard cross-connections is critical for public health. Question 25. According to the California Plumbing Code, what is the maximum developed length permitted for a 2-inch wet vent that serves a combination of fixtures, such as a water closet and a lavatory on the same floor? A. 6 feet. B. 8 feet. C. 10 feet. D. 12 feet. Answer: B. 8 feet. Wet venting is a specific plumbing method where a drain pipe also serves as a vent, which can be an efficient space-saving technique but is strictly regulated by the California Plumbing Code. For a 2-inch pipe serving as a wet vent for a combination of fixtures, including a water closet, the maximum developed length allowed is 8 feet. Exceeding this length can compromise the venting effectiveness and lead to trap siphonage or pressure fluctuations in the drainage system. Always adhere to the prescribed maximum lengths for wet vents to ensure proper system performance.